This is Joe Saul-Sehy from Stacking Benjamins, and you're watching GoTarryn TV.
Hey everybody, welcome to GoTarryn TV today. I'm Tarryn, the traveling trainer from Atlanta, Georgia, and today we have a very special guest who's returning. He was here last year on the show. He's from StackingBenjamins.com, and he's all the way from Texarkana, Texas. Please welcome Mr. Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe, how are you doing today?
What's happening, Tarryn? I'm so glad you asked me back. That's good news. That means I didn't break your show the first time, which I'm always happy about.
Right. I had a lot of fun with you, and I'm just so excited and thrilled, honored. Thanks for taking the time to be here, and again, we're really grateful to have you on because this is going to be a very special show for everybody watching. We're going to tie in and correlate. They're getting a double header, a double feature, if you will, because this is a health and fitness blog show. So most of the fans who are watching are, interested in health and fitness, but they're also going to get the strength training for their finances and their wealth, because we're going to see how that ties in and how it correlates, or if it correlates. We're going to talk about that. And before we get going, though, let me just, for the folks, again, for all my video blogger watchers who are fitness and health, you're going to really enjoy this show, I guarantee you. Joe is very phenomenal, enthusiastic, charismatic, and again, he's very dynamic, too. He's a gentleman who's been a former financial advisor of 16 years. He's represented a Fortune 500 company in the media. He's been on Money Man. He's appeared in more than 200 places, including CNBC.com and WSJ.com. I include people to definitely check you out more. We're going to definitely plug the website again when we get to the end of the video blog. But Joe, welcome back. Thanks again for being on here, and how's everything been going?
It's been going well. The podcast it's funny because when we started a podcast that was a podcast about nothing, right? It was supposed to be, if we teach you something, it's going to go poorly. So we try not to teach people anything, but it's gone very, very well. And I've been very excited about the growth. Our listenership is about double what it was when I was here last year. So,
oh my God.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome. And for the folks watching too, I was on Joe's show at one time too. He was grateful enough to have me on, and I appreciate it. And I hope I didn't turn down anyone and run away and say, "Oh my God, personal trainers! I need to run the other way."
Apparently, didn't break my show either, so that's good. Yeah.
Good. Then we're even. Excellent. Well. And again, before we get going, Joe, let me just reiterate this and just ask you to just kind of maybe summarize your podcast show and what you're doing with Stacking Benjamins before we jump into the actual topic of discussion, please.
So our show goes off 3 times a week. It's live from my mom's basement, which you can see the board games over here. Yes. People think we're always kidding about the board games and about the folding table and the stack of books. I mean, it's funny. I had Guerrilla Marketing holding up my microphone,
awesome,
but for video,
book. Yes,
for video, I didn't need that many books. When we do the podcast, we have it up here. But for this, we kind of kept it down low. So people think we're joking. We have a stack of books on a rickety card table in my mom's basement. We're totally not. But we have great guests. We have a lot of fun. I have ADD, so it's a magazine-style show, meaning about every 8 minutes we have something different, but it's an hour-long show. And we just try to do, they talk about how, money, religion, politics are things you can't talk about. And I kind of agree with that when it comes to religion and politics. But when it comes to money, I think a lot of us are making the same mistakes, right? Yeah. And if we just talk about it and have some surround sound, it's going to make it more fun. So that's our goal, is to just mess around and talk about things going on in the world with money. People submit questions. We just have a good time.
I like that. That's good. Yeah. And again, good book right there. That was one of the first books I read when I first started this whole thing. With
fantastic marketing book.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Guerrilla Marketing, Jay Levinson. If anybody's watching, there's a good plug for them. Speaking of your guests that you've had, I want to touch on this real quick too, because I do credit my father, Timothy Hoff, for getting you and I connected. He got me onto your show in the first place. And I understand, as we're recording this, of course, this is going to be post-recorded. He's going to be on your show pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken.
He will be our guest. Let me make sure I get this right. Next Friday is going to be our guest. And this will be his second time on our roundtable. So on Fridays, we have a roundtable, which is it's bloggers and podcasters and from the financial world. And I give them some topics to talk about. And actually, it was pretty funny. Your dad reached out to me and said, "Hey, it'd be fun to have listeners on from time to time." I said, "Well, how about you?" And I'm not sure if that's what he meant, but he's been great. So we're going to do it again. So it'll be fun.
That's terrific. Well, if he's watching, hi, Dad. Again, thank you for the hookup here with Joe. So again, he's going to be on there, and again, you've got great folks on there. StackingBenjamins.com is the website. We'll get that on the screen at the end. But Joe, let's jump right into this. Today's topic, like I said, we're going to talk about how one's health and fitness correlates or versus or differentiates between one's wealth and finances. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. The first question, is there a correlation, or is there just not? And then do we need to just end the video blog right now?
No, I think there's a big correlation. Okay. And I think the first correlation is how people feel intimidated, right? So I have a personal trainer.
Right.
And I'm a guy that does a lot of cardio, but I don't go into the gym a lot. And the people I'm afraid of are these people that are really ripped, right? And I'm going to go in there and I'm lifting my little baby weights and not doing much. And what's funny is I love this quote. There's this quote that says, "Don't confuse your beginning with somebody else's middle." Huh. And I absolutely love that, because a lot of people in that gym, they're in the middle, but you got to start somewhere. And I think it's the same thing with financial stuff. What's cool is I spent 16 years in the trenches as a financial planner. And during those years, as I throw my cat, I forgot to close the door to the basement.
No, we're animal friendly on the show. We love cats. I have two of them myself.
I didn't throw them hard. He landed on I swear. And who knows?
They always land on their feet anyway. And they have 9 lives.
That's horrible. But when it comes to finances, when I was in the trenches for 16 years, I got to see the inside, the stuff people don't talk about. Everybody, Tarryn's making the same mistakes. And I know, as a personal trainer, when you start off with new people, they're probably all making the same mistakes. They're doing the same things, and we just got to start. So that's the first place I think we correlate, is that there's this fear of getting started. And, the best place to start was probably 10 years ago. But if you couldn't do that, the best time to start is probably now.
Good. I like how you summarized all that. That's brilliant. Let's talk about that in the beginning. Like, let's talk finances for a second. If one doesn't get started up in saving and investing, they've got doomsday written all over it. And I'm a victim of it myself, because that, to me, I'm just speaking personally, that wasn't something that I recall or remember learning in school. How to budget, how to spend money correctly, how to live within your means. This was all stuff that I think I discovered probably 5-6 years post-college. So, what do you see in America, just using this country, for example? Do we do a good job as a generation of budgeting and understanding finances, or are you worried? Do you see a trend going on that it's getting worse? Or, how would you answer that in a just general answer?
I actually think it's funny, because we've talked about this a few times in our headlines in Stacking Benjamins, because we look a lot at statistics.
Yeah.
That are and there's two things. One is really great, which is millennials are a great group of savers as a group.
Interesting.
Which I find not very surprising, because a lot of millennials, they saw 2007, they saw 2008 when the housing crisis happened.
Yeah.
And I think they got really, really worried by that and said, "Hey, well, I gotta start saving some money." So they have that thing, but there's also bad news for millennials, and this is the bad trend, which is they're afraid of the financial markets because of that. So they say, I'm going to save a lot of money, but I'm going to put it under my mattress because I don't want to get burned.
Of course.
Which is absolutely horrible, because the younger you are, the more you need to really beat inflation. Mm-hmm. So inflation is this thing that nobody thinks about, just the price of, it's funny. My wife and I like to go to movies. We like to actually go to the theater. We go on Tuesday afternoon. And so we get the cheap ticket, but the cheap ticket has gone from like, $3.50 to $5. Oh yeah. And it just, as I throw my cat again, that is so Stacking Benjamins right there. But we don't do video, so I could get away with it.
Well, this is cool, because your listeners can actually see a different side of you too. And, again, I can attest, Joe's not an animal abuser. I know how the cats, if I was doing this out of my grandmother's basement, they'd be all over me right now.
no, Tarryn. They know this. They know that it's a wild, crazy thing down here. But but you've seen the price of a movie ticket go up. But more than that, groceries.
Yeah.
Contributor to our show, Len Penzo, does a sandwich survey, which just shows the price of a sandwich, how that's gone up over the last years.
Yeah.
So just the little things. And so you think to yourself, if you're just going to save into a savings account, maybe you'll keep up with inflation. You probably won't, but let's just pretend you do.
Sure.
If you do that, you're going to have to save dollar for dollar the same amount you want to live on in retirement, because you're not gaining any ground, right?
Right.
So you need something that's going to reliably beat inflation. There's only two things that do that historically. Reliably now is the key word. There's things that have done it, like collectibles, art, Beanie Babies, whatever. But a diversified stock portfolio, or real estate, those are the two things that have reliably beaten inflation over long periods of time. And so you kind of got to be there, So much like me, I had to learn weights, and I had to learn how to get my butt into the gym instead of just running marathons.
Sure.
It's the same thing here. There are devices that meet your goals. You might not want them, but you really have to learn to like that. And guess what? The more you find out about the stock market, as an example, the more you find out about real estate, the more fun it is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I totally agree with that. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. Intimidation is key. When I first, for example, will bring in new members to the gym, and let's say, they haven't been in a gym for a while, or that might be their first time. One of the biggest things that I always say, and I sound like a broken record, I always tell them, now don't be intimidated when you come in here. I know it's overwhelming. You see all these big machines and, big guys throwing weights.
It is overwhelming.
It is, yeah. And I agree with what you said, because if one's intimidated when they first walk in, then that's the biggest step. That's the make or break where I lose a lot of clients, that either they're going to go over that threshold and come in and sign up, or they'll just turn around and say, this just isn't for me. And that's where I lose, again, I would say a majority of my clients, before I even get to know them or meet them, is that first step through the door. So,
well, it's the same thing with money, man, because, you look at the two places people turn to first. They're like, okay, I'm going to start thinking about money. So what am I going to do? I'm going to watch Fox Business or CNBC.
Yeah.
And immediately they're talking about stock jocks, what's hot today. And you just go, I can't handle any of this. And what's funny that you may know now is that like 90% of that stuff doesn't matter.
Right? Interesting.
Like most of the stuff they talk about on CNBC is totally irrelevant. And that kind of makes me frustrated. Like, I've been in the gym now for quite a while, and the majority of those machines that are in there, I've never used.
Sure.
But I've realized they don't matter to my game plan, to my success. My goal is to run faster marathons and to not get hurt. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to use these things over here, but those things over there completely don't matter.
I like that. Yeah, that's true. Speaking of family, that was my next question for you, because yourself, last time you and I talked, you were mentioning how it was a bike ride that I believe one of your children was involved with too. And this was about last June, I believe it was, 2015. But how important, this is a real personal question, but how important, double question for you too, Joe, is it with both finances and fitness with your own family and, everyone in the family included?
Well, for us, I think, I mean, fitness is just a part of who we are, for me, when I was working with that Fortune 500 company, I was a desk jockey and gained a bunch of weight and really didn't feel as good anymore. And it was cool when we moved to Texarkana and I started working from the basement here. Things were a lot different. And I started hanging out with people who were more people like, they say you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, true.
My friends here all do marathons, and I had no intention of doing marathons ever. I didn't want to be caught dead doing a marathon. And now this fall, I'm going to do marathon number 12 in a 7-year period.
That's awesome.
So, but it becomes a part of me. You know what I mean? Like I wake up and that's what I do. I want to go out and run. And if I don't run, I feel bad because I didn't, right? And so my kids during their high school years, they were the same. And now my son in college, he just, riding his bike, he rode his bike from Austin, Texas to Anchorage, Alaska.
I remember this. That's right.
Yeah, it just is a part of who he is. So I don't, it's funny. It isn't that it's it isn't that it's important. It's not that I think about it. And I don't know if that's bad. It's just, it's what we do. And I feel bad if I don't.
Yeah, that's good, because it's kind of like the analogy I use to my clients is think about fitness, think about burning calories every day, like brushing your teeth, for example. Like make it something that when you go to bed at night, you almost feel guilty, like, oh my God, I didn't brush my teeth. Well, oh my God, I didn't go in the gym, or I didn't go for a walk outside, I didn't go on my bike. But that's great that you've instilled that on, especially at such a young age too for them. And it's very impressionable to learn. And going back to what you said a couple of minutes ago too, I do have to mention and reference what you were talking about on the TV, all these supposed experts, these talking heads, and they're always yelling and screaming. And the one guy, I can't remember. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, right, exactly. Always screaming in your face and everything. And there was a really great book that my dad suggested both my sister and I read, and it was How a Second Grader Beats Wall Street by Alan Roth. And are you familiar with that book, first of all?
I am familiar with that book, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because that left a great impression on me because, again, in the book, you reminded me something when you said that, well, about 90% of all that you watch is garbage. It's the same thing. It's very basic. And you know what? In fact, funny, I'm so glad you
it's right there?
Well, not the book, but I'm sure I got the book in here somewhere on the bookcase. This is what my dad suggested. He helped me make this.
Yeah.
This probably looks familiar to you,
Yeah.
Now, my dad is, for all purposes, my financial counselor for my family. So whenever I'm not in this target zone, then I always have to go to him. He holds me accountable. So
Can you show that for just a minute? Because I want to use an analogy that I really like, Tarryn.
Yeah.
So I look at, we call this an asset allocation breakdown, which is just big financial talk for the way you diversify your money. You have a lot of different baskets with your money.
Yeah.
So I look at it as if it's a ship, right? As if your portfolio, your money that you've saved is a ship. And if you think about it that way, that's the best way to think about it, because U.S. stocks, I said earlier, we were talking about inflation and reliably beating inflation.
Yeah.
U.S. stocks are like the hull of that ship, and it just cuts through the water. And sure, sometimes the water is going to get choppy. Sometimes it'll be better. But the hull of your ship in U.S. stocks means for you to lose, the U.S. stock market will have to go under. And that's highly unlikely. And then you have the sail of your ship, and the sail of your ship is the international piece, and your real estate piece really is part of the hull too.
Okay.
But real estate is such a different dynamic that having a little bit there also is kind of a part of the hull. International, though, is your sail. Sometimes international is going to be really good. Like as an example, which one do we think is going to grow faster over the next 30 years? The United States or India? I'm sure India is going to grow faster, right?
Sure.
I'm sure it will. But as the world flattens.
Yeah.
But I also know that India is also going to go up and down a lot, right? India is going to be horrible some years and it'll be great some years, or Southeast Asia, as an example.
Yeah.
So that's my sail. And then I have this little thing, people that know sailing know there's this little thing called a spinnaker sail. And a spinnaker sail is this little sail you put out when the wind is really strong and you get this extra kick, right? So the spinnaker is that little bit in gold, because the big problem is that gold most of the time doesn't do anything. Gold is horrible. But if you have this little spinnaker sail, when gold blows, and man, when it goes, you get this little thing. And the other cool thing about it is when the sea gets really rough, gold also a lot of times goes a different way. And then you have this anchor that kind of drags along the bottom and just makes sure that you're going to be a little more steady, and that's your bonds. Bonds are going to be much, much more steady. So your dad has really built that the way that I think about portfolio management. Most of your emphasis is on the hull of the ship.
Yeah.
The next biggest emphasis is on the sail. The next biggest is on the anchor, and the spinnaker is just a little like pepper, just something a little spicy so that when it goes, it goes.
That's really awesome. I love that breakdown. I'm sure if he's watching, he's going to like that too. And again, just pretty much told me to keep it simple, and my sister too. He just said you don't have to overthink it and just try to stick with this. And so far, I'm happy with it. We've been pretty happy. And
it doesn't have to be. What's funny is that OG on our show, who's my co-host, he's a working CFP, and we just call him because he doesn't want to do the whole compliance, thing. So we just call him the other guy. which is, OG is the original gangsta, but for us, it's the other guy. but OG says it doesn't have to be that complicated. I mean, we had a guest on our show, Tess Viglin, who is the host of Marketplace, one of the big shows on National Public Radio for a long time.
Okay.
Tess's portfolio is 50% U.S. total U.S. market. The other half is the bond market. And that's it. That's her portfolio.
Yeah, sure.
And OG would say that portfolio is going to get her conservatively where she wants to go.
Yeah.
She's beating inflation with half of it. The other half is making sure she doesn't lose her butt. It's very simple. Yours will go faster over longer periods of time than hers. But you're right. All the stuff, you don't see any of that on CNBC.
No. And that's brilliant, to correlate that with in the gym, in the fitness center. I always tell my clients, cardiovascular disease, number one, reason of death by far in the U.S. forever. It's always been that way. And that's why I always preach, do something cardiovascular aerobically every day. You don't have to get in here and do the weights every day, but that's equivalent of, I guess, U.S. stock. Try to get in and do.
Well, that's funny that you say that, Tarryn, because it's funny. There's all this big equipment there, and with Billy, my trainer, we probably spend very little time using the really cool weight machines. We're using ropes.
There you go.
We're doing burpees. We're bouncing that stupid ball. We're doing that. I hate burpees, by the way. We're doing push-ups. He loves push-ups.
Oh, nice.
I can do push-up in my own house, but I'm standing around all this expensive equipment, and we're doing push-ups. Why? Because they work. Or flutter kicks. Scissor kicks. I mean, really some of that work. So it's funny how much we're just using our own bodies as resistance, or we're using very cheap tools, versus all the expensive stuff in the gym. And man, it makes me sore than anything.
It sounds like you got a really great trainer. It sounds like you got a trainer who thinks a lot like me. I'm a big, huge functional trainer. If, you ask any of my clients, they'd say the same thing. They'd say, rarely does Tarryn take us and get on that one machine that, basically I have them do a lot of their own body weight exercises, weight bearing exercises, functional exercises, working the core. And I think that the majority of stuff you could do would be without machines. And that's just my personal belief and experience with training people. And
that's funny you say that, because there's a good analogy to money there.
Yeah.
You have your workout, and then you use the tools that are best for that workout.
Right.
We do the same thing in money management. What frustrates me in money management, probably frustrates you as a trainer with working out, is people that have this fancy tool and they just want to use the tool instead of doing what's best for their workout. So as an example, I see people talk about, dividend stocks. It's all the road to riches dividend. The road to riches is the road, it's this one thing. Well, this one thing is like a tool in your portfolio. It isn't meant for everything. Like, I've had people tell me they invest their entire portfolio in gold. And I'll ask them why, and they'll say they don't like the risk of the stock market, which is funny, Tarryn, because gold is 8 times more volatile than stocks.
Oh gosh.
So, and they don't know that. They think gold is safe because it's from the ground, and so it's definitely not much safer. So using the cool toy that's in the gym versus concentrating on what you need first, I think is another place where we share analogies.
Yeah, I like that, because another thing, again, to bounce right off that, it drives me nuts. Every time I turn on the TV, there's some kind of new hot product, like the Shake Weight or the GUI Gym or the Ab Toner or whatever, and you see those, and it's just like, come on, this just...
My favorite was the one that Brian Regan, that the comedian, talks about, the step. He's like, wow, he waits a week for his step to come, and then he puts the step in the living room so he can step up and step down. And he has to run downstairs to get his step, and then he runs back upstairs with the step. But he paid like $55 for the step, and he has tons of them in his house. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that you've done a wonderful job, Joe. This has just been a lot of fun bouncing back and forth, like ping pong, kind of just the ideas of how wealth and finances, and they correlate too, and parallel, I should say, with one's fitness and health. And, I think that's important to recognize, like you said, not to be intimidated, to start early, to diversify, and to keep it simple and basic, right? I mean, is that pretty much what we're trying to tell people?
I think there's a reason they rhyme, health and wealth.
Yeah. Right.
It's because they are very closely. And people and studies have shown that if you're healthy, you're going to make better money management decisions, and if you think about the things that you really, they say that the pursuit of money is evil, right?
Yeah, right.
But if we think of money as a fuel, just like we think of our body and the nutrients that go in our body as fuel, they have to work together if you've got any goals whatsoever.
Yeah, and I love what you said at the beginning when I interviewed you, in the first couple of minutes, when you had said, don't compare your beginning to someone's middle. In the book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, that was another one 10 years ago that I read that was from my dad, crediting him, a really big impact on me because there's a part in that book where he talks about, well, let's compare finances to fitness for a second. If someone's in the gym and you see they're shredded and they have 5% body fat, and you're wondering, well, I'll just get like that. All I got to do is work really, really hard the next 30 days and I'll look like him. And it doesn't work that way because there's a reason that person has been like that for a long time, and now they're just maintaining. And it's a lot easier to keep maintenance on a body like that versus somebody who hasn't worked out and is just trying to go in the gym and say, well, let me give it a best shot if that's the first time or they're just getting into it. So I think the key is, to get in there early, and that way, again, like you said, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. You'll get to that point. We're all different, and I think that's important to learn from as well.
Just start.
Yeah,
Just start.
Yeah. That's great advice for any people that are thinking about getting in the gym or getting into finances as well too, and they need to know that. So Joe, awesome stuff. I have really enjoyed this time with you. I got to thank you very much, and again, I appreciate your time. Let me ask you a few more things here before we let you go here. I had a few more questions. Before we were recording, and you had mentioned and referenced your trainer as well. Let's see here. I guess what I was going to ask you was, you had said something about you're going through a change, I think, about the trainers. I guess you and the trainer are kind of going separate ways. Is that correct?
No, my trainer is retiring.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a former military guy.
Gotcha.
And he started working at this gym. The gym itself is going through bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
We didn't even join the gym to join the gym. We joined the gym because he was there.
Oh, okay.
So
I gotcha.
he was such a strong personality that I really wanted to work out with him. Which I think is important.
Says a lot of him. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, you find somebody who is dynamic and who kind of knows you. He's also a guy who's not the youngest guy in the gym.
Sure.
So I've had a trainer before who was like 20 years old. That dude didn't know me. That dude had no idea the pain that my older body goes through. And so we didn't have a lot in common. But this guy, Billy was 40, I'm 48.
Okay.
And so it was a little bit closer. And then, but yeah, he's retiring, which stinks.
Oh man, yeah. Well, you know what? Good for him that he's able to, though, and again, financially secure, and going to enjoy, the hard work that he's put in. So I think that's terrific. Good for him. Wow. Yeah. That's excellent, and at such a young age too.
I know he's got that military pension, and I know he's going to do other things to make money, but for right now, he's and maybe I chased him out of it, which is probably what happened. I probably was the biggest pain in the ass client he's ever had.
Oh my goodness! Well, it's too bad that Tarryn the Traveling Trainer doesn't commute to Texarkana, Texas.
Let's go, man! Come on.
Yeah, then I could go out there and make you do some burpees as well.
Forget the burpees. Forget I said anything about that. Right.
Well, again, if your trainer's watching, he sounds like a really good guy, and good for him. I commend him, and I'll look forward to being like him one day when I'm financially secure enough to be able to do what he's doing. I think that's wonderful. That's good. Now, Joe, okay, so great. Again, good stuff. Let's plug some stuff here. If anybody's watching and they want more of Stacking Benjamins and they want to know more about your podcasts, let's throw out some websites and social media content, please.
Awesome. So the best way to listen to any podcast is on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Those are the three places most people listen to us. You can also get us now on, or very soon, on iHeartRadio,
nice.
The big clear channel thing. So whatever app you have on your phone, it's very easy to follow us there. But if you want to go to our website, it's stackingbenjamins.com. That's a good introduction to who we are, what we're all about. We also have a white paper there, which is kind of funny. It's why you shouldn't listen to people like Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, the Motley Fool. which is a little incendiary title, and to give people I meant for it to be a little incendiary,
sure.
but because I really do think you should listen to those people. But there is a point. Don't get sucked into just one guru, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Keep your brain open. So anyway, stackingbenjamins.com. Follow me on Twitter, Average Joe Money. We just set up one for the podcast, just literally like 3 weeks ago. That's different than my own Twitter, and it's S Benjamin Cast, I think. S Benjamin Cast. Anyway, you put in Stacking Benjamins, you'll find us.
We'll make sure. We'll get it on the screen. We'll get the correct. We'll make sure it's right. And yeah, I'm glad you told me that. I'm going to go and make sure I give you a follow as soon as we're done recording. Joe, this past 30 minutes has flown by so fast. I can't believe there's already a half hour. This went by so quick. I think that we got a really, really good, excellent video blog here. Just really great content. I'd love to have you back on very soon again, because I think there's a lot more we can tie in to your world and mine as well. I think that's great. I just commend you for everything you're doing out there.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Sorry about my cat.
Hey, they're welcome along all the time. Again, we're animal friendly, and I can't wait to check out the audio podcast interview with my dad on your show too, as well.
Absolutely. Next Friday.
Next Friday it is. Excellent. Well, I'll tune in for that. So, everybody watching, thanks so much for your time. And when we fade to black, we're going to have stackingbenjamins.com and all the social media website content that Joe just told you there. So make sure you grab a pen and paper here momentarily. Again, Joe, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, man. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, there you have it. All of the contact information. Joe Saul-Sehy from Texarkana, Texas. StackingBenjamins.com. Definitely make sure you follow them on social media, and get the podcast shows too when you get a chance. There's plenty of opportunities and ways you can do that. As he mentioned, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Music Play, and also very soon iHeart Radio. So, Joe, if you're watching, thank you so much for your time. Awesome interview. I always enjoy talking to you. For reference's sake, if you want to check him out from last year, he was on GoTarryn.tv, episode 337 from June 2015. And today was just an amazing episode. I never did a show on GoTarryn TV. This is the first where we talked about comparing one's finances and wealth to one's fitness and health. So, I think Joe just hit everything on the head. I agreed with him immensely and thoroughly enjoyed that video blog, one of my very favorites. And again, Joe, if you're watching, invitation's always on the table. Please come back on, and let's have you talk here more on finances and money, saving, building wealth, building strength, and working out, and building cardiovascular endurance and all that good stuff. So that'll do it today for today's video blog show. I hope everyone enjoyed as much as I did. Please make sure to also connect with yours truly, Tarryn the Traveling Trainer of GoTarryn Personal Training. The ways you can best do that is to like GoTarryn on Facebook, subscribe to GoTarryn on YouTube, and follow GoTarryn on Twitter. That way you'll stay connected with the master of the personal training universe, Tarryn the Traveling Trainer, who tells each and every one of you that it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. We'll see you on the next video blog, everybody. Bye-bye.